wrote a script, it couldn't have done a better job than to put a Grand Prix in Monaco.
Monaco, it must be said, is a Grand Prix like no other. It has become the most prestigious of all Grand Prix, and yet is completely untypical. The presence of the world's most sophisticatedly technological cars in this pocket handkerchief-sized Mediterranean principality might seem apt. After all, many of the inhabitants are the elite of their world too. Yet it is a crazy anachronism, for here you have the extreme contrast between the roar and fury of Formula One on one hand, the smart kitsch of the environment on the other, and together they form a surrealist cocktail with an unrivaled taste. Every Ascension Week, Monaco in Grand Prix Week becomes the place to be, one of the great sporting and social occasions of the world. It was conceived by its innovator, creator, Anthony Nogues in the 20s. The circuit would not just be made up of city streets, but also roads along the port, climbing up to the casino, its highest point, before descending to the sea again. Its extreme narrowness and the tortuous character of its route favoured agility over power. Not surprisingly then, it was a Bugatti driven by Williams which won the inaugural event in 1929. More surprisingly, however, is the fact that this non-permanent circuit has survived and is today the second oldest of all Grand Prix circuits.
Entre 29 et 92, sur le même endroit, dans une ville qui n'a pas beaucoup changé, qui a changé certainement dans son architecture, la largeur des rues étant demeurée à peu près constante, nous avons quand même réussi à adapter, si je puis dire, à nous adapter plus exactement à l'évolution technique de ces voitures.
Against all the odds, the organisers have managed to preserve their circuit, in spite of the considerable changes that affected not only the cars, but also their environment and outlooks over the last 60 years. Over the years, while nearly all the great traditional circuits have either been forsaken or changed beyond recognition, Monaco, in spite of one or two upheavals and coping with natural changes, has somehow held its place. The first fixed barriers, still only one layer, appeared in the early 60s. It was the start of a programme which would slowly establish the pattern for all street circuits in terms of facilities, safety and the need to adapt the track as the cars got quicker. The pits moved, the quayside section was widened thanks to influence used on the port, and the track modified by encircling the swimming pool constructed in 1976. However, the basic nature of the circuit would never change. Some would complain in the hope of updating facilities, but most people were pleased that the circuit upheld tradition, even though it didn't really allow drivers to exploit the full potential of their racing cars. For their Grand Prix to remain a round of the Formula One World Championship, the organisers have to work miracles. For Grand Prix week, they have to erect 30 kilometres of barrier held together by 100,000 bolts.
Point de vue montage, nos systèmes sont parfaitement informatisés et en 25 jours ouvrables, nous arrivons à tout mettre en œuvre et il faut 15 jours pour démonter. Et puis il y a la période dite de combat, c'est-à-dire c'est la mobilisation. La mobilisation, c'est quand même 600 commissaires, c'est à peu près 150 sapeurs-pompiers, 45 médecins réanimateurs, 100 médecins généralistes, c'est 4 compagnies de CRS et toute la sûreté monégasque, plus de 500 hommes au travail, ce sont les carabiniers. C'est une organisation qui fait à peu près 2500 à 3000 personnes. La préparation d'une telle manifestation prend évidemment l'année et c'est un budget d'environ 60 millions de francs.
This tight organisation has to be well run. That's why every car that stops on the circuit can be removed from the track almost immediately via 7 critical points on the circuit by teams that are highly trained and watched by the race directors on a closed circuit TV system that covers the whole circuit. That's not counting a team of track marshals who are as competent as they are committed to the job, which isn't always the case. It's thanks to the huge methodical effort that is made that the Monaco Grand Prix is still run on its original site and has become a myth. But the myth has also been based on the social character of the race, adopted by the world's jet set.
For me it's a big mess, because I've never ever seen a panopticon of people environment like in Monte Carlo, because here you see everybody nearly abnormal. You don't see anybody normal, which is the fun about Monte Carlo, and it's good to come here for a weekend, enjoy yourself and then go, but then be normal again, which I think is the most important thing.
For a long time, the Monaco Grand Prix was the excuse and stage for a dazzling selection of stars, mainly from the world of show business. They were attracted by the irresistible thought of rubbing shoulders, not only with princes of the track, but real ones too. When Jackie Stewart talked of a Hollywood production, he wasn't joking. Recently, however, the stars have been chased out of the pits and are now rare, but the pretty girls who tremble at the slightest glimpse of a racing driver still clamour to be close to their idols. And the streets of the Principality become a sort of open-air motor show, except that usually more than one of each of the most beautiful and expensive cars in the world are on show. Meanwhile, down in the port, the most sumptuous yachts in the Mediterranean are crammed together like mere sardines. And while at many other circuits the drivers are shut up in their hotels, invisible outside working hours, at Monaco they are prepared to enjoy a little social life.
From a driver's point of view, it was too busy a weekend. Too many things to do, too many cocktail parties, too many dinners, too many autographs, and sometimes too many practices too early in the day.
Yes, this circuit, more than any other, demands absolute concentration because the visibility is very poor and corners follow one another without respite. They have famous names: the Rascasse, Saint-Devote, Casino Square, and each year Formula One builds on the legend that is Monaco. This narrow, twisty ribbon of tarmac, lined by 2 rows of unforgiving steel barrier, doesn't allow a single moment's distraction, nor a single deviation from the racing line.
The whole circuit is exciting because you have no room for any mistakes. As soon as you lose concentration for 1%, you will crash. So it's a very hard circuit to drive on and to win on.
Right from the start, the funnel into Saint-Devote often causes spectacular accidents. The narrowness of the streets makes any overtaking manoeuvre extremely hazardous and causes rush hour-style traffic jams. Generally harmless, accidents can still be frightening. Tambay survived Mirabeau, and Saint-Devote was watching over Patrese. A little Latin influence saw De Cesaris and Monaco resident Piquet arguing like Rome taxi drivers when they interlocked wheels at Lowe's hairpin. But you don't need help to put a foot wrong in Monaco, as Berger experienced at the swimming pool. Being one of the toughest races on the calendar, it's no surprise that an uncommon number of incidents have taken place here. In 1984, for instance, Mansell lost the lead, losing control on the white line. However, while accidents may be frequent, they are rarely serious because the car's speed isn't that high. One driver has been killed in this Grand Prix, Lorenzo Bandini, in 1967. And the organisers were so upset by this tragedy that they subsequently reviewed their entire system. Amongst the drivers, Monaco generates passionate controversy between traditionalists and realists.
C'est un circuit qui est complètement anachronique par rapport à la compétitivité des voitures, par rapport à leur performance, surtout aujourd'hui. Je trouve que c'est un circuit qui est complètement dépassé. On arrive à organiser là-bas parce que d'abord les gens sont très compétents, les commissaires sont très très efficaces. Donc on arrive à avoir quand même une sécurité en dehors du circuit qui est bonne. Maintenant, c'est assez incroyable, assez impressionnant. On dirait une voiture de 700 chevaux dans les rues de Monaco. On arrive quand même à avoir un certain plaisir. Il y a le passage de la bosse du casino qui est très impressionnant, où là on voit les spectateurs qui arrivent vraiment, c'est comme s'ils s'avançaient sur nous. Le passage du tunnel, qui est là aussi incroyable. Si on s'arrête en dehors du tunnel et qu'on voit les voitures passer, c'est un des endroits peut-être les plus impressionnants de la saison.
I think the swimming pool area is very exciting. The first part, when you come after the chicane, you accelerate, and then when you come left there and all the way, that's very exciting because it's danger, very dangerous, no room for anything, and you go so fast there, so close to the wall. If you touch the wall, you go against the other wall immediately. It's very difficult to commit yourself to drive quick through there, and it's a place where you can make or you can lose a lot of time.
È un circuito, non è come altri circuiti cittadini che abbiamo avuto in passato, dove le curve erano delle 90 gradi e frenata e accelerazione. Qui abbiamo delle curve come la curva del Casino, la curva del tabaccaio, la curva del Mirabeau, che sono tutte curve che hanno delle caratteristiche ben precise che si avvicinano moltissimo a un circuito permanente.
Contested and detested. That's Monaco. But this Grand Prix is still the one that everyone wants to win, simply because it has no equal. It's a monument to motorsport, a classic, which has been won by some of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport since the 30s. Stirling Moss won some of his greatest races at Monaco. This is Formula One's top-of-the-market shop window. Its glamorous side fascinates the public and stimulates drivers, however successful and blasé they may be.
From my point of view, it was the most exciting Grand Prix in the year to win. It was the most prestigious because everybody came there. The motor industry came, all of the sponsors came, all of the corporations who were associated with motor racing came and used it.
There's another specific factor which contributes to make this race different. In the confined space of the Principality, the gladiators are closer to the spectators than anywhere else. On a track where it's almost impossible to overtake, grid positions take on a new importance in comparison to other circuits, and the battle for pole takes on a new significance.
Qualifying is a real sprint there, more than any other circuit. It's a tremendous sprint. And sometimes it takes so much energy, so much concentration that you really see nothing else other than the narrow road, the armcos, the walls, and your wheels, because you're positioning your wheels with the armco all the time, and you are cutting it as close as that, going at 100, 200, 250 kilometers an hour. So it's a tremendous excitement to drive around Monte Carlo.
Tighten your seatbelts and take a deep breath. Senna is going for pole. And 5 times out of 9, Senna has succeeded. He is a prince of the Monaco circuit. Needless to say, on this very tight and demanding track, there have been many extraordinary races, with many remarkable drives. The most gracious, without doubt, took place in 1932, when the great Caracciola, having taken the lead from Nuvolari, who was having trouble with his engine, let him overtake again just before the finish. He didn't want to profit from the problems suffered by a rival who, in his eyes, deserved to win. The most unlucky yet worthy driver at Monaco was surely Jim Clark, who never managed to add victory in the Principality to his long list of wins, in spite of frequently looking as though he might, only to break down. Graham Hill, however, was for a long time the most successful driver at Monaco, where he won 5 times. One of his victories was in 1965, when he kept everyone on tenterhooks. Leading on the 25th lap, he had to take to the escape road after a back marker blocked the entrance to the chicane. But with typical stolid British spirit and tenacity, he restarted over half a minute behind, catching his rivals one after another, and taking his 3rd consecutive victory in the Principality. The most unexpected ending to a Monaco Grand Prix was in the 1970 event. Brabham had dominated, but then eased up too much too early. Rindt in second place was well charged up, and seeing the gap between himself and Brabham dropping, went for an all-out final sprint. And the unexpected happened. Held up by a slower driver in the last corner, the Australian spun out, and that's how the race director, checkered flag in hand, saw Rindt coming rather than Brabham, and was so surprised that he missed him. The 1982 event was almost as unexpected in the final laps. Riccardo Patrese, who would be the winner, still didn't believe it 10 years later when he told us the story.
La gara dell'82 è stata abbastanza sorprendente per come è finita. Dopo aver fatto tutta la gara in seconda posizione dietro a Prost, ha cominciato a piovere a 2 giri dalla fine e Alain si è girato alla chicane. Io sono passato in testa e pur cercando di andare pianissimo mi sono girato anch'io al tornante dell'Ovs all'ultimo giro. Nel momento in cui mi sono girato ho visto sfilare 2 o 3 macchine. Alla fine di quel giro si sono fermati sia Pironi che De Cesaris, però dentro la mia testa ero convinto che ancora Rosberg fosse davanti a me, quindi di aver finito il Gran Premio in seconda posizione. Invece la macchina che avevo visto, la Williams che avevo visto passarmi vicino, era quella di Daly, che era doppiata. Mi sono ritrovato primo senza neanche saperlo, perché dentro la mia testa pensavo di essere arrivato secondo, e quindi me l'hanno comunicato solo nel momento in cui mi hanno mandato davanti al palco dei principi.
Le second de la course est Didier Pironi. Deuxième de la course Pironi, troisième Andrea De Cesaris, à la 4e place Nigel Mansell, à la 5e.
But it was perhaps the 1988 event which best demonstrated the specific, pitiless nature of this incomparable Grand Prix. Prost made a bad start and found himself blocked by Berger, allowing Senna to pull out a lead of about a minute. When the Frenchman finally moved up to second, Senna at first allowed him to close up. But suddenly he panicked, forced the pace and made an elementary mistake, losing control of his McLaren and hitting the barrier at Poitiers, when he had the race won.
I changed a lot my strategy from that day on as far as driving was concerned, and it was just a consequence of the mistake I had in '88. It was a difficult day, not such a good result, but a necessary result perhaps, that gave me so much success after it.
Such lessons are profitable for those who have the intelligence to learn from them. In 1992, Senna proved that he was one of those. Even though he realised that Mansell and his Williams Renault were the superior combination on the track, he showed that he wouldn't be happy to finish second, as he wouldn't on any other circuit, and his policy was rewarded when his rival had to stop to change tyres. This unexpected stop, 7 laps from the end, allowed Senna to at Monaco, equalling the famous record established by Graham Hill in the 60s. Senna's first win was in 1987, driving his Honda-powered Lotus, the same engine powering him to his 4 consecutive victories between 89 and 92. With remarkable concentration, exceptional judgment and unerring precision, Senna used all these qualities to master this very demanding race circuit. And it meant that he too could join Graham Hill as a Prince of Monaco. The mustachioed Englishman probably didn't have the same brilliance as Senna, but he had no equal when it came to maintaining the extraordinary rhythm required to drive around this unforgiving circuit. Prost also is a master of it, as borne out by his 4 victories between 84 and 88. Here the professor could put his exceptional race strategy into practice. Stirling Moss's 3 wins were 3 of the best of his career, profiting from his exceptional talent and the very tricky track to outclass rivals in cars that were more powerful than his own. Jackie Stewart had similar talents to Prost's and, like Moss, won 3 times at Monaco. As he admits, they were 3 victories of which he is most proud and which were his more glorious. It has its critics, but certainly no other Grand Prix equals the prestige of Monaco.
If I had to say that my fairy godmother was going to give me one more opportunity to drive in a race and win it, I would say it'd have to be Monaco.
In the 90s, there is probably no place on earth less suitable for organising a Grand Prix than the Principality of Monaco. But even so, there is nowhere else on no other circuit that the noise and the sheer fury of these superpowered single-seaters is quite so awesome as on its streets. Formula One may change, but conversely and in spite of everything, the magic is still there. It is utterly unique and without the help of Hollywood.